Big Manchester United transfer news for you this morning, coming in late last night from Ben Jacobs, also Fabrizio Romano, involving Mateus Fernandes and Alex Scott. Some big updates here. So effectively, if we start off with Fernandes, what Ben Jacobs is saying is that West Ham midfielder Matteas Fernandez has indicated he is open to joining Manchester United.
Plenty of things to say, the market is moving, things are happening, always here to keep you updated, and so let's jump into it together and let's start with the news of the day. And we have to start from deciding to try make something big happen. And so the big news of the day, Mateus Fernandes. Many questions over the last 24 hours because many of you asking me, it's true that he's done with Tottenham, it's true that he's no longer going to Man United. Last week it's true that he's done with Man United, it's true that he's done with the other club, Real Madrid and all the rest. Guys, I told you in a video, and I think this version is now almost everywhere in the media, but let me be clear on this. West Ham will sell Mateus Fernandes to the club, offering the best money. So West Ham don't care if it's called Tottenham, Man United, Real Madrid, or whatever. Manchester United have been in talks with the agent of the player for a long time, and Man United also had direct contacts with West Ham. So Man United are working hard on this deal for Mateus Fernandes, and that remains my information. Man United are there. Tottenham are also there, because Tottenham are pushing, in a separate story compared to Sandro Tonali. Sandro Tonali is still there. So Tottenham are working on it, and Manchester United are working on it. Real Madrid, the name was indicated by Jose Mourinho, but at the moment is still not advancing. But West Ham communicated to those close to the player, bring us the proposals. We start at £85 million. That's the starting price. West Ham obviously hope to get more than this with so many clubs involved. And so the idea at West Ham is to get the best transfer fee possible for Mateus Fernandes. This is going to be the way to sign the player. Then obviously the player can have preferences, the player can have the opportunity on one side a very good contract, on the other side a Champions League football. So every club can present their proposal, their project, but for West Ham in a very clear way is best offer wins. That's what West Ham will do with Mateus Fernandes.
There is something about Real Madrid. I will talk about that in a moment. And look, I saw something on social media last night where someone was saying we should be grateful that Real Madrid are involved in this deal because it's speeding things up. Yes and no. I think that if Real Madrid weren't in for him, maybe PSG would be in for him. Maybe other clubs are in for him anyway. I think with a player like this, you're going to have to move quickly. I don't think it was ever going to be a case of just chasing one player. And ultimately that is. In one way, if it was just us, we'd probably get it done cheaper and it would get done in the next month. In this case, it's still a very high fee. There is a lot of competition and we're not necessarily definitely over the line yet. But I think the last 24 hours couldn't have gone much better, really, in the sense that, we're happy for it to be publicly out there that we want him. We've held talks with West Ham. We've held talks with Jorge Mendes, and the player is open to coming to Manchester United and has indicated that. So I think that there's two ways of reading that as well. One, he's open to joining Manchester United because that's where he wants to be. Or two, he's open to joining Manchester United and wants the negotiations to carry on. And if someone comes in as well, he'll look at that. For example, I'm happy to go to Man United. I like the wages on offer. I like the project. If West Ham can agree a deal, I'm happy to sign the deal. However, if while I'm looking at that, someone else comes in, I might like that project as well. So it could be one of both. But I think all we can do is what we're doing. If someone else comes in and he chooses that, what do? You miss out. But I think we're doing absolutely everything possible that we can do at the moment. There was some talk about Real Madrid. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Real Madrid have been looking at the deal and have made contact, as did Ben Jacobs. Ben Jacobs saying they made a call. With Arsenal, they have been interested, but they may well be pivoting to Alex Scott, who we're going to talk about in a moment. And then the interesting thing for me is that I read somewhere, I think it might have been in the Manchester Evening News, that Manchester United are looking to bring in players who've got their best years ahead of them. So younger players who are Premier League proven, who've got their best years ahead of them. You're thinking Scott, you're thinking Fernandes. I mean, dare I say, are they thinking Belabor? Look, the whole point of supporting Manchester United, in fact, the whole point of watching football is to be opinionated. From the days we were at primary school to the age we are now, whatever that is. I still hold out. And look, I have seen the propaganda that Jason Wilcox is driving the Matteas Fernandez deal because he signed him for Southampton. It's hilarious how, you know, when it suits, when it's a good signing, it's all Wilcox, but when it's not, it's everybody. I mean, it's just not how the Man United transfer system works. Jason Wilcox can't walk into the boardroom and say, we're going for Fernandes, and everyone else goes, no, we're not. Yes, we are. It has to go through everybody. So it's always the decision. Somebody might come in the room and say, I think we should sign Mateus Fernandes. But everyone has to agree to do it. Like, if Val walks in the room and says, I think we should sign Sesko, everyone has to agree with it. And they didn't agree with him at the start. You know, they wanted to go for other people first. So it's not Jason Wilcox's deal and everyone else is going, oh, Jason, you're so great. Everyone else is working on this collectively, which is how it works at Man United, whether you like it or not. But one thing I don't like about United at the moment, and there is still a long window of lot of the window to go, I still do not really understand why we're sort of following the Chelsea model still, which hasn't worked. Chelsea haven't done it yet, but I guarantee you they're going to bring in some experienced players. Man United still seem to be obsessed with this, let's buy younger players with their best years ahead of them. And I think that with regards to that, I think you've just got to have a mix. And I look at our midfield, and as it stands at the moment, there is no balance in that midfield. It's Mainu, who is young. It's Mateus Fernandes, if we get him, who is young. And then it's Baleba or Scott, maybe, who are also young. And yeah, Edison is 27, but he's not Premier League experienced. He's not international experienced. So I do worry that in the absence of Casemiro, we haven't replaced it. And I do think that you do need people to walk into that club who can lead. And, you know, these younger players might be able to do it, but I think there's an element of risk there. But I don't blame the players, I blame the board, because the board seemed to be fixated on a Chelsea model that didn't work, where let's buy younger players who are here for a few years, which I think is a financial thing. I think it's about, we don't mind spending 20 million too much on a 21-year-old, but we're not going to spend it on a 26-year-old like Tonali. And I think that comes down to age. And I do worry about the lack of experience. But as I've said before, I like Mateus Fernandes, and I was always feeling he was the second shelf and there'd be a top-tier signing. That seems like it's slipping away now, and that Mateus Fernandes will be our top-tier signing, which, I've got to be honest with you, if you'd said to me in April or May, Mateus Fernandes is going to be our superstar Casemiro replacement signing, I would have said, I don't know. But you've got to be very careful when you say that, because you'll get people in the comments saying, oh, you're just a hater. I really like Mateus Fernandes. I just think as a replacement for Casemiro, we should have been going a little bit more marquee with a little bit more experience. And maybe we still will. Maybe we still will.
Talking about interesting cases to follow and talking about interesting stories to consider on Manchester City, let me mention that they keep working. I know it's gone a bit quiet on the media, but they keep working on Elliot Anderson as new midfielder. Manchester City are on it. Manchester City are in negotiations behind the scenes with Nottingham Forest to try and unlock the final details of this deal. It's already at the very final stages. The player wants to go to Man City. The player has been clear about that. So his desire is to play for Man City. He was a top target with Pep Guardiola as a coach. He's a top target with Enzo Maresca as a coach, so nothing has changed. Now Man City working hard behind the scenes to close this deal for Elliot Anderson. It's still ongoing, it's still underway, and the story is absolutely on. So keep close eye to this possibility.